good morning, America. Welcome from the UK. It's time to get up, start trading those markets, and welcome to my show, the Early Morning Market Watch with me, Stephen Hoad, the Stop Hunter. Lot to get through today. This is all to give you that kickstart with that early morning coffee, like I say, to get you up and running. Well, it's 12:30 over here in the UK, which I reckon is about 7:30 Eastern time in the States. And at the moment, my mind is on the first tee-off times in the PGA Championship. I love my sport, as you'll get to know over the near future watching this show. Is it going to be Brooks Koepka? Is it going to be someone else? Let me know in those comments who you think is going to win. Grand Prix off, which is a bit of a shame. And my football team, West Ham United, are in the semi-finals of a big European competition today. So I'm going to be watching that closely this evening. Right, what's been going on then? Good start to the trading day over here. Pretty positive. It's all based around sentiment on the debt ceiling problems you're having over there in the States, and hopefully they're being alleviated and the solution being, thrashed out with your president over there. So hopefully that can sort out that $31.4 trillion debt ceiling, give us a bit of leeway to get things going in. But over here, optimism's creeping in, and we've seen the DAX, the FTSE 100, and the Japanese yen, Japanese 225 Nikkei also heading on high. And to mention the Japanese 225 there, it's at 33-year high at the moment, hit that overnight. Why? Market reforms, a lot of foreign investment in there at the moment, and also I guess it's seen as a less of a geopolitical risk, although it is quite positioned near to China and Taiwan. So still things going well there and still on the up at the moment. What else has happened since we last met? Well, Chinese data has been pretty poor. We've had retail sales, industrial production figures out, all down, showing a slowing economy at the moment, and German economic sentiment as well, one of the other big global financial powerhouses, also struggling on its economic sentiment there as well. Thankfully a calm day, as calm as it can be in terms of released data. We got at 1:30 my time, 8:30 yours. We got initial jobless claims and the Philly Fed manufacturing figures, so something to watch out there. And then at 3 o'clock or 10 o'clock your time, existing home sales. Over here, Europe, rest of the world, nothing really much there for the rest of the week. In terms of earnings, we've seen Target and Cisco out. Target, slower growth, but more optimistic, and Cisco better than expected, but down about 3%. I'll check that in a minute after hours. It's been a big week for the retail stores, the giant retail stores out there. And today we've got Walmart, which is looking like a reasonably solid buy at the moment, just because of its low cost nature, but also factored in, the high tech solutions they've got to make it a profitable business. So earnings out there, we're going to have a look at those charts in a minute. Alibaba as well, the big Chinese e-commerce business. Expect to see their earnings are out. Expect to see slower revenue growth, but I think they've started to reorganize the business better. There's talk of breaking it into 6 different parts. Yet to see that happening, but there's some positivity out there. And then tomorrow we've got Deere and Co, and that wraps up the earnings of this week. And in terms of big playing action, we've seen buying the dips in the banking sector throughout the last week. And that the financial sort of wobbles that we've gone through over the last month or so seem to be calming down a little bit. And like I said, people looking for value plays in that sector. And some big boys, the Bill Ackermans of Pershing, he bought 10 million Google stock, and the Teppers and Druckenheimers of this world are all loading into AI. Now, another segment I'm going to introduce is I do a lot of analysis of social chatter, got a lot of strategies around that as well, and I'm always scanning those markets for the noise of what's going around there in the morning and over the last few days. And looking down my list here, what are people talking about in terms of sectors? Well, it's hydrogen, especially green hydrogen stocks, airlines, and you're all probably aware, the driving AI, NASDAQ tech sectors at the moment, pushing those markets higher, supporting the market. So that's the sectors. In terms of stocks, Win, Shopify, Fiverr, Nvidia, C3 AI, it's includes in the name there, the AI stock, and one called Shockwave Medical. They're the talk this morning and over the last few days. And obviously the other underlying theme is that of the debt ceiling. Now, in terms of other markets, we've got oil, gains given back slightly, sort of slowing down. The negatives to that market, we've got the debt ceiling, obviously, and Chinese poor results. On the positive side, there's a US buyback of about 3 million barrels of oil for August to replenish depleted stocks that were whittled down about sort of February, March time due to the Russian-Ukrainian start that conflict last year. And another big mover in the energy sector, gasoline, US gasoline demand surging at the moment. Again, we'll look at a chart of those. It's a good seasonal play this time of year. Highest levels since 2021 in terms of demand, and gold edging on downwards. So pre-market, just looking at the screen, what's been moving, we've got Inspire Technologies up over 9%. Let's try and pick out some big names there at the moment. Let's just play with some buttons. What have we got in terms of movement? It's reasonably quiet at the moment. Not a lot going on. So maybe we're having a quieter start to the day. Let me just have a closer scan in. Actually, we've got Take Two Interactive. There we go, TTWO, the ticker, up nearly 13%. Sony up 4%. Downside, Cisco, we mentioned with their earnings, actually now down nearly 4%. Sociedad Química y Minera, if I've said that very badly, I apologize, but I think they're a good lithium player, if I remember correctly. Down about 3%. Palantir up, 2.5%. Just any other big ones? Micron up 2%, and Ferrari, the automobile company, ticker race, up 1.68%. So that's what's moving at the moment. So let's dive into those charts. I'll take you through a whole host of stuff really quickly. Hopefully, like I said, this can get you going for the day. So I'm going to look at interest rates first. This is the CME FedWatch tool. Interesting chart this, because last week the talk was of no further rises, and this was up near 90% odd, and that's just showing you that interest rates are going to stay the same, falling down to 73%, 74%, and you can see the next bar to the right of that, that's growing. It's 26% now for another 0.25% rise in rates. So interesting there. And let's get into those charts. Let's start with the heat map. This is the S&P 500 yesterday, closing mostly up, looking a bit more green. I like that color, looking much better than usual. Obviously the health technology sector there, a bit more red, and maybe utilities, they're the weaker ones at the moment. Most other sectors looking quite good. And over in Europe, this is the German stock market this morning, all looking very healthy and green. And over into the UK, a bit more of a mixed bag. Banking, finance, energy companies like Shell and BP, the sort of more upside, and the non-durables looking weaker there. Now, some charts of the indices themselves. FTSE flat, DAX Germany pushing on upwards, NASDAQ the real strong performer globally at the moment, still pushing on higher. US Russell 2000, that's the domestic, I call it the domestic US stock market, just breaking up. Looks like it's just pushing up outside that pattern. So let's watch that space. China, very flat, stuck within the range. And as I mentioned, there's that Nikkei 225 shooting off to the stars and up to 33-year high. So very strong Japanese market there. What's been going on with the NASDAQ this morning and overnight? Well, you can see the run up yesterday. And then we've got this sideways move. And then this morning, UK time, we've pushed on further up. Just looks like it's slowing down at the moment. A lot of the volume around 13 645 sort of area, and then that big gap down to where it broke up yesterday. And what about the S&P 500? Bit of a longer term look here. We've got this declining picture going on, wedge of play, the price narrowing down, but just looking to push on up. Now, how can I confirm that? Well, I use the VIX volatility below that, look for the inverse. It's actually breaking down outside those bands, which means it's calming down, which to me is a more bullish sign. So the S&P as well looking quite good this morning. And into some sectors, what's been going on, some key ones I've picked out for you here. Cannabis. Last week we were talking about it possibly moving on up. It tricked us all. It's gone back down into the doldrums, heading south once more. There was some news last week of regulatory reform, but that seems to have petered out and it's gone back into that downtrend. Energy sector, that's been suffering the last week or so. Just trying to break out that pattern there, and maybe some downside further to come. Home builders, very good and strong still. I think that's companies like Lennar, Pulte, helping those numbers there. Pharmaceuticals on the top right also looking weak, and down the bottom we've got the tech in the bottom left, and artificial intelligence, which I mentioned. A lot of the big players starting to load up on there. Also, it's been driven by big stocks like Google and Microsoft, who are also heavily into the AI world, driving those numbers. If we look at regional banking, that's probably the weaker of the finance sectors or subsectors at the moment. You can see it broke down, but like I said, there's been that buying the dip type play at the moment, and they're looking for the value of those better stocks in that sector. Finally, over there, EV, has it bottomed out at the moment? It hasn't had a great year, really. There's a lot of doubt about the future of electric vehicles and their eco-friendliness, but it's just pushing up the top of that triangle pattern and maybe going to break out on upwards. And I mentioned earlier that it was a big week for retail earnings, and we've had this out, these three are the main ones out over the week. I haven't got Ross Stores on here, but got Home Depot, and I've put under here, I've just worked out what the options market expectations are around to next week's expiry, and at the moment it's about an expectation of about a plus minus 2.7% move in Home Depot. Earlier in the week, if you were to look at this on Monday, that was up near 9%, but obviously earnings have calmed things down there. Target, a bit more volatility in there, but again, it's within this range, 4.1%. The better one for me looks like Walmart, which we know they're coming out today, but 4% either way move. Again, you can see looking more bullish compared to the others in terms of charts. Can it push on up there through earnings? Like I say, expect a plus minus 4% range in the price. Now, one of my segments I like to look at is 3 I like and 3 I don't like. We're going to start with the don't likes. We've got Pfizer's. We all know who they are, really struggling at the moment, and we can see got these 2 standard deviation regression bands on, and at the moment they're right in the mean, around $36.50. Some downside still to come to about 31.5. Got a UK American company, British American Tobacco next, suffering from the vape which they went into heavily as well. Again, looking to break down under that 33 down to about 30 is its next move. And CVS Corp, who are they? They are a health solutions company, but they've been investigated by the FTC at the moment for data analytics. Drug rebates, actually. Some scandal going on there, which could see that price move on further down. And we got 3 that I like. First, Solar. They purchased a Swedish company called Evolar and put out some good earnings, looking more profitable. It's an interesting market in the sort of green energy sector, but hopefully there's some upside there into the 250 area. And then we've got Nvidia. We all know what they're up to, heavily into the AI and semiconductors. Well, I still think there's a lot of upside to come. in there. 340, 350 possible next moves. And then Verisk Analytics. Now that's that data analytics company for the insurance sector. Now they've had a good resort of what is going on inside the business, got rid of stuff, tidied themselves up. Earnings not bad, looking more profitable, and we could be seeing that price moving up to, if we can break those highs, 230, 235. So that's three I like and three I dislike. And then we're moving into other markets. We got some Forex analysis. This is a currency strength map of the major players in the sector. And we've got the New Zealand dollar and Canadian dollar. They're the strongest at the moment. The European euro the weakest. And we've got the US dollar sitting nicely in the middle. We can see some Japanese weakness creeping back in at the moment as well. And in terms of the dollar, I always follow the dollar index chart. That's ticker DXY. It's a futures contract basket of major currencies. And you can see a lot of strength in there at the moment. And what does that mean for certain FX plays? Well, last week we were here. I put this chart up on the screen and I was looking for that breakdown into those two targets. I haven't touched it since last week, hence all the squiggly mess. But it has achieved that target. It's broken down. Euro weak, US dollar, a bit stronger. And what's that mean for this week? I'm looking at the US yen at the moment for a push up through highs, recent highs around 137.5 up to 139.5. And a market we don't often look at, crypto, it's losing its shine somewhat with all sorts of bizarre and strange things going on in there with the exchanges and the way it works. But if you're into it at the moment, last week's performance pretty flat at the moment. We can see that in the chart. This is the daily chart for Bitcoin. It's been in that range between, let's say, 31,000 and 26,000. If it breaks at 26,000, well, we could be on down into the 20,000 area. You can see the volume at the moment. Actually, the next big set of volumes around 23,000, so could get to there before stalling and then shooting down to that 20,000 mark to the upside. It feels like it's got a long way to go to break through those highs. Tried to hold 30,000s, failed, but next up level 36,500. Into commodities, what have we got? Oil, like we mentioned, mixed bag again, holding it within this price range. You can see, I just drag that over a bit. You can see $71 to $83. It just does not want to shift at the moment. Why is that? Like we said, negatives, debt ceiling, China economic results, the positives, US buyback of 3 million barrels for August. It just can't decide where to go. So if you're range trading, there's a lot of opportunities between that, but at the moment, or short-term day scalping, but in terms of long-term direction, very flat. We can see that in the underlying data below. Down the bottom, volatility neutral, seasonality neutral, bit of weakness in the commitment of traders data. The large speculators following the price as we expect, and the large commercials the inverse. So I would call that a weak neutral market there for oil at the moment. And what's been going on this morning? Well, after yesterday's good start, it sort of just petered out, going quite flat around about $73 at the moment. And into some other commodities of interest. Gold, I've left on last week's drawings as well. You can just see breaking down at the moment. So there's often an inverse play between gold and the dollar. There's a lot of things and factors that go into moving gold price, but one of the bigger ones is the US dollar. As that strengthens, you can see that price coming off. And I mentioned right at the start, RBOB gasoline. Nice seasonal play, but also demand picking up massively. So I'm looking for further upside in gasoline markets, just coming up to some resistance around $2.55. Now, next target 2.7 around there, and then up to those highs 2.9. So I'm expecting some nice strong action there in RBOB gasoline. And then nat gas, another favorite that people follow. You can see pretty much still down in the doldrums after that 75% sell off to the lows. Again, a lot of storage over storage in this stuff. There's a lot of it floating around. The weather hasn't been significantly strong enough to jolt people into, well, you've got to remember this is a futures market, so forward buying based around weather scenario. So it's quite flat at the moment, along with that storage issue. So we're going to look for it to break up, but I can't see it going much higher than that $3.28, sort of $3.30 area if it does break on up. If it fails, then I say it's back into that pattern with lows around about the $2 mark. And to finish off the charts, we've got copper. Now, those who follow me will remember that I like to use copper for a gauge of Chinese economic performance. Why, you might ask? Well, about 60% of the stuff goes to China, following further 20% to the US. So between the two of them, you know, remembering that copper goes into most electronic devices, building, it's everywhere. Copper's a real key metal for industrial success. So a flat copper chart means things are a bit in the doldrums, and that's what we're seeing in the chart today. You can see that triangle pattern on there. It's been sideways since, well, the start of the year, really, with a slight bearish tinge to the price. Interesting line we've got here, trend line support, going way back to July of last year. It can break down there. We're looking down to $3.1 as a potential downside target. If it can hold, it's back into the noise around 3.8, 3.9 sort of dollars. But at the moment, that's a good gauge, a good bellwether of what is going on in sort of a respective type of way for the world's economies through the copper chart. So let's wrap things up for today. Let's just have a quick look down the comments, see what's going on. Any questions there? All stocks looking positive, maybe again, quite possibly. Again, I think if that debt ceiling sorts itself out, then we might see some buying in, because there's been a bit of a sell-off there. So look out for opportunities there. We've got Tesla pre-market, EKS saying there, showing good volume, up a bit as well. And we just scroll through anything else. Nope, not too many comments there. So there you go. That's your morning's injection of trading news from me, the Stop Hunter. Lots more shows out on Benzinga today for you to follow and watch, give you the insights that you need for your trading. Don't forget to hit the like button for today's show, and any questions, you can always ping me, follow me up, or any suggestions for the show, always let me know, and I'll try and incorporate them for you. So with that, good luck with the trading, and I hope to see you soon.